Hiya, welcome to LSB Feaster's radio channel and travel corner. What we do here is we keep great radio from the past alive, and today, it's a radio legend. We're talking about the one and only Gary Owens, who spent a lifetime on the radio in Southern California. You may remember him from his Laugh-In days back in the late 60s. This air check is kind of special. This features him when he was doing his show for Armed Forces Radio and Television Saigon. The name of the show was Gary Owens, the Music Guy. And on this show, he played middle-of-the-road music while doing some of his classic bits and materials, just trying to make the soldiers feel a little piece of home as they were serving during the Vietnam War. I actually found this show in a lot of tapes that I bought. Most of it was junk, but then I found several reels of this show, so I'll post some more of it in the coming weeks. If you like what you hear, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and make sure you smack that bell. When you do, you'll be notified whenever we post anything new. So let's go back to 1967, AFRTS Saigon, and Gary Owens and the Music Guy Show.
Well, Glorioski's Zero, which was, of course, the score to the big Glorioski's game, played earlier and heard earlier right here. It's time for Music Guy with G.O. And, of course, a lot of your favorite friends may be here. Dr. Fendishman with a lot of facts for you. The Klein family singers. The great public service feature of the Music Guy program. Famous expressions explained. And another dubious episode in Return the Paper Plates. Reza. The Razor's Edge. Remember that movie with Les Brown and his band of renown? I am almost ashamed to say that because it's a cliche. Another cliche that I don't really like to say is, according to Hoyle. I looked up some fact there. Where did I? Oh, yes, here it is. The cliche expert in your crowd will disrupt whatever you're doing invariably and use the fun-filled expression, well, according to Hoyle. You may have wondered if there ever was a Hoyle. But there was a Hoyle, and he wrote only 2 books on card playing, and that was back in the mid-1700s. One was a treatise on whist, and the other one wasn't. So if somebody says, according to Hoyle, you say, well, the guy only wrote 2 books. What does he know about it? Which may be true or may not be. Depends on how you look at it. Stand by for Dr. Fendishman in just a moment. A little bit later on the Music Guy G.O. show, the Klein family singers will be here. Famous expressions explained, and, of course, another dubious episode in Return the Paper Plates.
It's time for information time. And here he is, the man with all the information, Dr. Lionel Fendishman.
And here is my first piece of information. The state of Louisiana was named after the famous Roman general and emperor, Julius Caesar.
Dr. Fendishman.
Yes, Harvey, what is it? Can't you see I'm very busy?
That last fact, I don't quite understand.
What's the matter?
Well, you said that the state of Louisiana was named after Julius Caesar.
That's right. You see, Julius Caesar was born in the year 102 B.C., and he was named then. But Louisiana didn't exist until the 17th century, so it wasn't named until that time, therefore.
Louisiana was named after Julius Caesar.
That's correct.
You've been listening to Information Time.
Emerson once said, knowledge is the antidote to fear. There is a battle going on today, a battle of minds and ideals, a battle to bring freedom and knowledge to countries of the world that know only oppression and fear. Knowledge is the key to freedom, not the limited knowledge of a person who learns only what dictators offer him, but knowledge of all things, all peoples. We, who have the right to think, to learn, and to apply our knowledge in the crusade for a free world, have a job to do. To share these rights, to lift the curtain of fear, to make sure that all people know the meaning of freedom. Robert Q. Lewis gave me a jingle today. How did it go? Oh, there... No, that was the wrong jingle. No, he gave me a phone call today, and he says, hey, I've got a new album out. Have you seen it yet? And it so happened right at that point, I opened his new album, and there are some goodies in there. Back in 1928, one of the most popular radio shows in the U.S. was Little Orphan Annie. based on the comic strip of the same name. We were all sipping Ovaltine at that time. Well, Robert Q has come out with some of the more fantastic songs of that era. Here's one right now.
There's a cute little girl and a great big dog. We see them every day. And the cute little girl and the great big dog playing the hours away. There's something about their manner, seems so happy, so gay. For that cute little girl and that great big dog cause lots of folks to say, who's that little chatterbox? The one with curly auburn locks. Who do you see? It's little orphan Annie. She and Sandy make a pair. They never seem to have a care. Cute little she, our little orphan Annie. Bright eyes, cheeks a rosy glow. There's a store of healthiness handy. Might size, always on the go. If you wanna know, says Sandy, always wears a sunny smile. Now wouldn't it be worth your while if you could be like little orphan Annie? Tell your mommy and your dad you know of something better than candy. If you drink it once or twice, you will say it's nice. Wow, how dandy. Later on we'll tell you more. But now we've got a treat in store. On with the show. It's little orphan Annie.
Well, you're probably too young to remember that, and so am I, of course, but that was Robert Q. Lewis and the theme from Little Orphan Annie and her dog Sandy. Of course, I have many traumatic emotions with that song because I played the part of Sandy. Let me lift this up over here and remind you that it's time again for another special feature on the Music Guy Show.
And now it's time for America's favorite TV musical show, The Klein Family.
Welcome to another weekly visit with us, the members of the Klein family. As we do every week, we'd like to have you meet some of the members. First of all, this is my wife, Shirley. To Shirley's right is my stepbrother and Shirley's uncle, Albino Klein.
And this is my wife, Betty, and over here are our three daughters, Cynthia, Joanne, and Judy.
There in the third row, you can see my uncle, Ben Klein, who is my wife's first husband.
No, Ben is your father's stepbrother, remember that?
Wait a minute, are you sure?
Well, Rodney and Kenneth are your cousins, right?
Yeah.
Well, then that would make Ben your father's brother and your wife's uncle-in-law and your uncle.
Now, you're mixed up, Albino. Agatha, Patty, Brian, and Roger are your nieces and nephews.
Oh, no, that isn't right, because Randolph...
Because Arnold and
Klein
Irving were the cousins.
my wife's father's sister's
the other
brother-in-law's
two
uncle.
You're
was not
wrong.
the
You're
man.
wrong. Until next week, this is Bill Jacobs saying so long for America's favorite musical family, the Klein family.
The Music Guy Show with G.O. Well, let's scurry along musically now, as they seldom say, with Ken and Beverly and Who's Afraid?
Who's afraid of lovely things? Summer days and garden swings, counting stars in the dark, together. Who's afraid of love? Who's afraid of distant bells, candlelight and carousel? Once you've shared every dream, The stars desert the sky. Lovers kiss and say goodbye. Come what may, we will stay together. Who's afraid?
Who's afraid of Edward Albee? Ken and Beverly, two young kids from the Los Angeles area. Of course, that was Ken singing, Beverly playing oboe, and some sweet sounds. Coming your way from the Music Guy program. Return the paper plates in about 10 minutes. Right here over most of this same station.
Now, Famous Expressions Explained. A highly touted weekly program dedicated to a deeper understanding of the world around us. Our panel today consists of Professor Marion Wiedner, Dean of Rancid Filigrees at the Hanstetter School of Ancient Marsupialism in Hanford.
Thank you.
And Dean Marion Wiedner, Professor of Bilingual Genialism at the University of Leipzig, Southern Branch of Fraternal, Texas.
Thank you.
Now then, the expression to be explained today is the expression, a horse of another color. Professor Wiedner, will you lead the explanation, please?
Yes, I'd be glad to.
All right.
The expression a horse of another color originated in the 14th century in southern Europe.
That's right. The Druids would gather around the walls of ancient baronial castles, and then one of them would turn to another and say, "A horse of another color, buddy."
Well, thank you very much, Professor Marion Wiedner and Dean Marion Wiedner. Listen again next week when Famous Expressions Explained will explain the famous expression, "Flake off, Mac." That's next time on Famous Expressions Explained. Famous Expressions Wineries, Famous Expressions, California.
Someone has been sending along quite a few facts. I'd like to thank them for it. Here's one that may or may not strike your fancy. George Selden, the man once called the father of the automobile industry, built his first car back in 1877. However, it was nearly 20 years before he finally got around to patenting it. And another one, this is even more interesting. The inventor of the safety pin sold the rights to his amazing idea for only $400. He could have become a multimillionaire if he hadn't been stuck on the selling idea. Ouch. Oh, that makes sense, doesn't it? And your average giraffe is about 16 to 18 feet tall, but they have been known to hit 21 feet. For example, Fred, the world's tallest giraffe, 21.6, played center for the Boston Celtics for 3 straight years. do you think of that one with Nelson Riddle and his orchestra? George E. Girl and his lovely wife, Mrs. Girl. I always thought that was his initial. Before the movie came out, of course. That's a beautiful instrumental. Here on the Music Guy program with G.O., a former president once said, "All that a man has will he give for his life. And while all citizens contribute of their substance in support of their nation, the soldier puts his life at stake and often yields it up in his country's cause. The highest merit, then, is due the soldier. Yet, the greatest credit is due the man who offers the greatest worth. And our military personnel offer their all in the 24-hour-a-day job of being a member of the United States Armed Forces." Say, a little bit later on the show, we'll be dropping in on the paper plates community and see what's happening over there.
Our hidden microphone takes us to the scene of law enforcement in action.
All right, Roscoe. We know you're in there. Come out with your hands on your head and you won't get hurt.
Sarge, you're training the lights on the wrong building. Roscoe's across the street. This is a Chinese restaurant.
All right, Wu Chang. We know you're in there. Come out with your hands up.